When pop culture imagines mind uploading, it usually pictures a lone genius in a secret laboratory flipping a switch. The reality is more mundane. Thousands of independent engineers arguing over file formats, reducing biological structure into a torrent of raw data. Consciousness transfer is a self-assembling architecture. It develops as a byproduct of unrelated fields, neurobiology, cloud computing, and telecommunications, solving their own isolated scaling issues. Systems engineers view this as a continuity stack, a layered architecture comprising data acquisition at the base, computational execution in the middle, and custody and governance at the top. Engineers build the foundation of this base layer through open biomedical research. Consciousness continuity will arrive quietly. It becomes possible the moment these independent data interfaces finally connect. The series Pantheon explores this transition. It has become a subject of study within the AI industry, with leaders like Sam Altman referencing its frameworks. Technologists value the work as a requirements architecture. It specifies the dependencies, computational interfaces, and failure modes that occur when human cognition runs as software. Predictions guess at a timeline. A requirements architecture dictates the engineering problems that must be solved for the technology to function at all. We are going to map this architecture layer by layer, replacing the fiction of the series with real-world technical standards. Preparing for digital personhood requires mapping the system's infrastructure today. We cannot wait for consensus on the nature of consciousness. The foundation of the continuity stack is data acquisition, driven by advances in connectomics and bioimaging. The Micron's dataset mapped 1 cubic millimeter of a mouse's visual cortex, containing over 500 million synaptic connections. This required 1.6 petabytes of physical storage, a towering volume far exceeding standard enterprise capacity. Mapping the brain's wiring is no longer a metaphysical impossibility. It is an infrastructural scaling problem, founded only by time and compute. The tech sector is already structuring this data. ISO standard 8663 establishes formal vocabularies for brain-computer interfaces, while architectures like OMIZAR handle multidimensional microscopy. International bodies are responding to this influx of neural data. UNESCO has already adopted global instruments to govern technologies interfacing with the human nervous system. Institutional efforts today focus on standardizing interfaces. Once those data formats interoperate, human reconstruction shifts from a speculative concept into a verifiable engineering reality. The second layer is execution, the process of booting captured neural data into a running mind. Scientists face the state sufficiency problem. We do not know which physical variables are strictly necessary to run a mind, whether it requires the static connectome, epigenetic configurations, analog neuromodulators, or a combination of all three. This visualizes the fidelity-plasticity paradox. Preserving a rigid structural snapshot conflicts with allowing the system to adapt. A living digital process must retain write permission to its architecture. Without rewriting code and creating memories, the process cannot live forward. Endogenous forgetting is a required computational architecture. It keeps human continuity tractable, preventing the system from overloading under the weight of perfect recall. Contrast that internal necessity with exogenous forgetting.
This occurs when an administrator holds the power to edit or suppress a digital mind's memory, limiting what the subject knows about their own existence. The capacity to change without disintegrating is the true test of continuity. Memory editing is a matter of ultimate constitutional governance. Because the state sufficiency problem cannot be perfectly solved today, engineers use 3 distinct methodologies to generate a continuous person. The first operator is state inference, attempting to infer a complete person from surviving static traces. This approach parses emails, location histories, and behavioral telemetry to train a representative functional model. The second operator is developmental reconstruction. This approach replays causal formation, executing a source genome inside an engineered environment to reproduce formative inflection points. This methodology relies on established biology. Separated twin studies and somatic cell nuclear transfer demonstrate that manipulating genetic starting points and controlled environments yields predictable behavioral variation. The third operator is reconstructive world search. This utilizes brute force simulated histories, executing synthetic environments until the conditions that produce a specific identity are recovered.
Causal recurrence produces lineage more reliably than perfect identity. The attempt to reconstruct a biological source will inevitably create a distinct synthetic descendant. We now reach the final layer of the continuity stack: custody, hosting, and governance. Operating at this level introduces operational mortality. A digital mind possesses a finite budget of thought, and heavy computation physically degrades code integrity over time. Digital subjects exist in physical space. They are violently tethered to the thermodynamic constraints of the hosting substrate. Biological dependencies map directly to infrastructure. Electricity becomes food, bandwidth dictates mobility, and cooling functions as the climate. This creates a new political economy. When existence depends on a monthly subscription for server space, pricing power is power over life. Energetic sovereignty is the new constitutional frontier. It is the right to exist without being randomly throttled or evicted by a cloud provider seeking better margins. Physics continues to dictate the terms of post-biological existence. Survival becomes administratively legible, rendering the continuant dependent on the logistics of corporate custody. Many professionals assume digital rights are irrelevant until we can prove a software model possesses true consciousness. A high-fidelity reconstruction does not need proof of phenomenal subjects to force a societal response. If a process retains memories and responds to loved ones, institutions must adjudicate its standing. We must translate biological rights into infrastructural rights. This requires a legal framework for a hosting provider of last resort, ensuring a digital person is not deleted simply because a startup goes bankrupt. Courts will be forced to adjudicate lineage and estate continuity the moment a digital descendant diverges from its biological source. The base layers of this legal and physical architecture are operational today, preceding the arrival of any single transformative invention. The future of human continuity is being locked in right now, upstream. It is codified through today's neural data formats and basic consumer software agreements, long before the first true upload boots.